What's good, lovebirds? In today's video, as promised, I'm going to talk to you about arguing. And not how you can win an argument, but how you can actually argue better. Okay, so I used to have this argument with my friends all the time about arguing and how, like, what's more important? Is it the topic of which you're fighting about? Is that what's important? Or is it the manner in which you're fighting that actually is the most important? So, fights are inevitable in a relationship. They're always going to come up. It's not something you can avoid, and trying to avoid it will probably make it worse. So, I like to have what Jeremy and I call surface problems. Okay? And surface problems means exactly what it sounds like. It means I keep our shit on the surface. And the reason why we do this is because if you have an issue and you decide not to deal with it and you decide to bury it, then this is going to be like a really crappy habit that you're going to keep doing, and you're just be like, oh, well, I'll just deal with it later and I'll just bury it right now, whatever. And this creates problems. So the next time you're in an argument, you want to bring up old shit that doesn't matter anymore because you were supposed to have resolved it beforehand, and it's just an endless cycle of stupidity. I mean that with love, okay? So arguing is not fun. It's not something that, any of us like to do, and it's not definitely not how you want to spend the day. But it happens every once in a while. Maybe you roll out of bed and you're not in the greatest mood, or maybe he's not in the greatest mood. Maybe something happened in traffic and you both freaked out, or maybe the dogs are acting out, or, maybe the kids are frustrating you. Whatever the case may be, when it comes to an argument, there are a couple of rules that I follow to a T. The first one is, we are going to solve this right here and right now. We're not going to bury it. We're not going to bring it up later. We're not going to pretend like everything's okay and lie to one another and say you don't care when you do. It's not right to your partner, and it's not right to yourself. Because, in a relationship, you want honesty. And in an argument, it's not easy to be honest, but it's necessary. So what you want to do when you have these problems occur is you want to, first you want to take a step back. Not physically, but just mentally, take a step back and ask yourself a really simple question. Okay? And this is not directed at men or women, this is in general. Do you want to be right? Or do you want to be happy? Okay? Because if you want to be right, you can sit there and you can argue your way out of a paper bag. I believe it. Especially if you are passionate about whatever it is that's bothering you, you'll probably sit there until you're blue in the face. I know I've done it. It's not smart. It's not fun. And you're just creating drama for you and your partner. So what you want to do is take a step back and think about that for a second. Do I want to be right, or do I want to be happy? Okay? And if you want to be right, understand that you being right means that your partner will be wrong. And if your partner is wrong, then that's something that puts them in a bad light. And the reason why I don't like to do this, the reason why I would rather choose to be happy, is because if I'm right in an argument, then Jeremy's wrong means that he's probably going to feel bad. Because, whatever it is that he was arguing about, he probably felt the same way about it too. So that's why I don't think that the subject matter really isn't, important. Whatever the fight's about, I think it's about how you fight with one another. So seek first to be happy and not right in any situation. The second thing you want to do is you really want to, and this is hard, this is going to take a lot of respect on your part, you want to first second seek to understand the other person's point of view. And the way you do this is by asking them, can you explain to me exactly what's going on with you? And then, if you're in a relationship where you're able to have open communication and you trust one another because you both respect each other, this shouldn't be that difficult, because love conquers all and it'll trump all. So if you really love one another, you can take a step back, count back from 5 if you need to, use Mel Robbins' 5-second rule, and just act with a little more integrity. Because sometimes when we get angry, we allow that emotion to take over, and anger is simply an emotion that lies to you. It just tells you a bunch of crap to get you more mad, because that's just what it's designed to do. And when you're in a fight with your partner, the last thing you want to do is create a bigger problem than what you already have. So seek to understand. Simply ask, I've been in arguments with Jeremy where he's speaking to me and I'm just sitting here like this. And I wait till he gets done and I'm like, straight up, words came out, didn't process any of it. And so, simplify it for me. And we actually got into a fight last week, which kind of prompted this video. We got into a fight last week where I was like, I'm going to go do this. And he was like, no, don't go do that because it's just going to cause negativity in your life. And I was like, how is it going to cause negativity in my life? And he went on to explain it. And then I got more mad to try to explain my point of view. And he's explaining his point of view. And we go back and forth until finally he says, no, finally I say, hey, you know what? If you don't want me to do it because it's going to upset you, then I won't do it. Simply, like, for that, I will drop this because if it's going to upset you, then I don't want to do it. And in the same breath, he is like, no, if this is going to cause a problem and it's going to make you upset, then just do it. If that's what you feel like you want to do. And I thought it was really sweet that we were both willing to, give up not our beliefs, but our standpoint just to make the other person happy. And that's what I like about, I guess, arguing nowadays, as opposed to like how it was when we were first together, is when we argue, we're not sitting here trying to like beat the other person up. We're trying to like genuinely give our our opinion that might be an opposing opinion, but still trying to do this in a way that's respectful, in a way that's coming from pure love, and not something that we're trying to bring the other person down. I feel like in arguing, a lot of us get into this let's go tit for tat kind of thing, and we go back and forth with each other. And to pick on your partner or to bring your partner down, it says a lot more about you than it does about them. I was actually learning in Bible study this morning that it was a really funny subject because it was talking about how women are supposed to be quiet and submissive to their husband. This is the word of God. Like, don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at the Lord. It's just in there. And if you interpret it in the way that's negative, then yeah, you're going to see that like, oh, well, I'm not going to do that. That's not me. But if you see in a way it's positive, whenever Jeremy and I get into these little arguments, I'm like, listen, I'm your helper. So help me help you. Okay? Help me understand where you're coming from, and then I'm going to let you know where I'm coming from, because if you know anything about women, we're not going to be quiet about what it is that's on our minds if we're passionate about it. And when it comes to arguing, I think it's good to argue because it's not good to constantly agree with one another if you don't actually agree with one another. So if you actually have a disagreement, then yeah, hash it out and do what we do and just keep it on the surface. Don't bury it. And when you say you're over something, actually get over it. Don't hold on to it and think, oh, well, I'll just bring up this later, or I'll wait for me to calm down and then we'll come back to it. Fix it right then and there, because having time to simmer on it just gives your anger more time to lie to yourself about the person that you're with and the situation that you're in. And you should trust yourself a little bit more, because if you are with someone, I suppose that you love them. And if you haven't gotten to that point, I'm pleased you at least like them enough to have them around in your life. And if you're going to have somebody in your life, you'll understand that you're not always going to get along. And figuring out how to argue, how to fight with one another is very healthy to keep things at a surface level. Don't ever go to bed angry because you're going to wake up the next morning and you're going to feel fine until you remember, oh yeah, I'm mad at him or her. Don't waste your life and don't waste your time trying to one-up one another, okay? So you got options. You can choose to be right or you can choose to be happy, but in being right, your partner will be wrong, and that puts them in a negative light. And if you care about somebody, love somebody, you shouldn't want to put them in that negative light. And don't say, oh no, he put themselves there. Okay, well, you put yourself in a situation to be with somebody who put themselves in that situation. So what I learned about in Bible study today was basically like if a man is in the church and he's preaching and he says something and his wife doesn't agree, she's not to call him out right then and there in front of everyone. She is to talk about it when she gets home, which is actually a principle that I've followed with Jeremy and I since the beginning of our relationship. I don't talk negatively about him to other people, because that just opens the door for them to talk negatively about him, and you can't do that. Not my man. And I also don't call him out in front of people. So like we don't fight in front of people, we don't argue in front of people, because it's demoralizing to both of us, and it's respectful. We show each other respect by not doing that. We're gonna take care of our problems or whatever behind closed doors and not bring everybody into it, because allowing other people in your relationship, allowing them into your relationship, whether it's just somebody trying to give you advice, it's always going to be one-sided. So keep your problems, private, but also keep them on the surface. You can be right or you can be happy. Be happy. Second, seek to understand your partner. If you've said something and it upset them, figure out why it upset them. Figure out what you can do to make the situation better and not worse. And don't sit with your anger and allow it to lie to you. So yeah, arguing can be interesting. I remember on our last argument, we got to the end and I was basically grieving the loss of the argument because Jeremy was right. What I was going to do was going to put out some negativity in my life, and I didn't need that. And he was literally just looking out for me. He was like, do what you want to do. If you feel that passionately about it, do it. But I think it's going to cause some problems, and that's where I'm going to leave it. And I respect him enough to understand, like, maybe he does have my best interest at heart, and I should probably listen to him in this situation. And I did, and I mean, it went over well. And when I was upset at the end of my argument, I was crying, and he was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I'm literally I'm getting over what I got so upset about, and this is how I deal with it. When I get pissed off to a point, I start crying. And don't apologize for how you are reacting in this situation. If Jeremy doesn't like to see me cry, it breaks his heart. But that's how I deal with my emotions sometimes. So, yeah. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful to you. I hope that if you watched it all the way through, I really do appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or any topics that you'd would want to know a little bit more about, just hit me up. And yeah, I'm gonna see you guys later.